Queen Zareth of the Velthari Empire stood at the observation deck of her massive flagship. Her 4 eyes scanned the blue planet below. Earth. She had heard many stories about this world. Some said the creatures here were primitive. Others said they were dangerous. She wanted to see for herself. The Velthari were an ancient race. They had conquered hundreds of worlds across the galaxy. Their empire stretched across 3 star systems. Zareth had ruled for 200 years. She had seen many species. Some had surrendered quickly. Others had fought and lost. But she had never seen anything like what she was about to witness. Her advisor, General Korthax, stood beside her. His scaled skin was dark green, almost black. He was old, even by Velthari standards. He had served her mother before her. "My queen," he said, "are you sure about this? The humans have been at war with the Nexar for 3 months now. It is not safe to visit their planet." Zareth turned to look at him. "That is exactly why I must go. The Nexar attacked our mining colony last year. They killed 10,000 of our people. Now they attack the humans. I want to know what kind of species can fight against the Nexar and survive." The Nexar were brutal creatures. They looked like giant insects with sharp claws and armored bodies. They did not negotiate. They did not take prisoners. They simply killed and consumed. Every species they encountered either became their food or their slaves. "The humans have lost many cities," Korthax said. "Their military is stretched thin. Our intelligence says they cannot hold much longer." "Then we will observe their fall," Zareth replied. "Or perhaps we will see something interesting." She walked to the shuttle bay. Her personal guards followed. They wore ceremonial armor that showed their high rank. Zareth herself wore a flowing robe of silver and gold. On her head sat a crown made of crystals from her home world. She looked every bit the empress she was. The shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere. Zareth watched through the window as clouds parted around them. She saw green lands and blue oceans. It was a beautiful world. She understood why the Nexar wanted it. They landed in a human city called Geneva. It was the center of something the humans called the United Nations. Zareth had learned that Earth had many governments, many nations. This confused her. On Velthari Prime there was only one ruler, one voice, one command. The humans seemed nervous when she arrived. They had only known about alien life for a year, since the Nexar invasion began. Now here was another alien species visiting them. Zareth could see the fear in their eyes. A human male approached her. He was tall and thin, with gray hair and tired eyes. He wore a dark suit and walked with the help of a cane. "Queen Zareth," he said, bowing slightly. "I am Secretary General Marcus Webb. Welcome to Earth." "Secretary General," Zareth replied. Her voice was calm and measured. "I have come to observe. Your war with the Nexar interests me." Marcus nodded. "We are honored by your presence, Your Majesty, though I must admit we hoped you might offer help." Zareth tilted her head. "Help? The Velthari do not help. We conquer, we trade, we observe. We do not help." Marcus's face fell, but he kept his composure. "I understand. Please, let us show you our hospitality." Over the next few days, Zareth toured the human facilities. She saw their military bases. She saw their weapons. She was not impressed. Their technology was primitive compared to the Velthari. Their ships were slow. Their weapons were weak. She did not understand how they had survived this long against the Nexar. But then she began to notice something strange. The humans never stopped fighting. Even when they lost a battle, they regrouped and attacked again. Even when entire cities were destroyed, the survivors picked up weapons and fought. There was something in their eyes that she had never seen in other species. It was not just courage. It was something more. "What drives them?" she asked Korthax one evening. "They call it many things," he replied. "Hope, love, duty. They fight for each other, not just for survival." Zareth found this strange. In the Velthari Empire, individuals served the collective. Personal sacrifice was expected but not celebrated. It was simply what one did. But the humans seemed to make something more of it. They told stories about their heroes. They built monuments to their dead. They remembered. On the 5th day of her visit, everything changed. The Nexar launched a massive attack on a human city called Tokyo. Millions of people lived there. The human military was outnumbered and outgunned. Zareth watched the battle from a command center in Geneva. The screens showed chaos. Nexar ships filled the sky. Human planes fell like burning leaves. The ground troops were being overrun. Zareth had seen this before. This was the end. The humans would fall just like every other species the Nexar had attacked. But then she saw something that made her 4 eyes widen. A human soldier named Captain James Chen stood at a bridge. Behind him were thousands of civilians trying to evacuate. In front of him were hundreds of Nexar warriors. His unit was down to 12 soldiers. They had almost no ammunition left. Captain Chen spoke into his radio. Zareth listened through the translation device. "Command, this is Chen. The Nexar are about to break through. We can't hold them. Request permission to destroy the bridge." "Negative, Captain," came the reply. "Destroying the bridge will trap you and your men with the enemy. Find another way." "There is no other way, sir. If we don't destroy the bridge, the Nexar will cross and reach the evacuation point. 50,000 civilians will die. We need to blow the bridge." There was silence on the radio. "Captain, if you destroy the bridge, you can't get out. You will die." "I know, sir." Another voice came on the radio. It was a young woman. Dad, it's me. Please don't do this. Please come home." Zareth watched Captain Chen's face on the screen. He was crying, but his hands were steady. "Sarah, honey, I love you. I love your mother. Tell her I'm sorry I won't make it to the anniversary." "Dad, please." "Sarah, listen to me. There are 50,000 people behind me. Children, families. If I run, they all die. I can't do that. I'm a soldier. This is what soldiers do." "Daddy." "Be brave, little girl. Be brave for me. I'll be watching over you, always." He turned off his radio. He looked at his soldiers. Every one of them had heard the conversation. Every one of them knew what was coming. "Anyone who wants to leave can leave now," Chen said. "No one will think less of you. You have families too." Not one soldier moved. A young man, barely 20 years old, stepped forward. "Sir, with respect, we're not going anywhere. We knew what we signed up for." Chen nodded. "Then let's give these bastards something to remember." They set the charges on the bridge. The Nexar were coming. Zareth could see them on the screen, thousands of clicking, screeching monsters pouring toward the bridge. Captain Chen and his 12 soldiers stood their ground. They fired their weapons until they were empty. Then they fought with knives, then with their bare hands. They bought time, precious minutes for the civilians to escape. When the Nexar finally reached the center of the bridge, Chen pressed the detonator. The explosion was enormous. The bridge collapsed into the river below. Captain Chen, his 12 soldiers, and hundreds of Nexar fell together into the dark water. They were gone. Zareth sat in complete silence. Her 4 eyes had not blinked throughout the entire event. Beside her, General Korthax was equally still. "He knew he would die," Zareth whispered. "He had a daughter, a wife, he loved them, and still he chose to die." "Yes, my queen." "For strangers, for people he never met, he gave his life." "Yes, my queen." Zareth stood up. Her body was trembling, not from fear, from something else, something she had not felt in 200 years of rule. "I have conquered worlds," she said softly. "I have commanded armies of millions. I have seen empires rise and fall, but I have never seen anything like this." She turned to Korthax. "What manner of creatures are these humans?" The old general looked at the screen where smoke still rose from the destroyed bridge. "I do not know, my queen. I have lived for 300 years. I have fought against every known species in the galaxy, but I have never seen a warrior like Captain James Chen." Zareth walked to the window. Outside, the stars were beginning to appear in the evening sky. Her flagship orbited somewhere up there, waiting for her command. "The Nexar think they will win this war," she said. "They think the humans will break. They think fear will defeat them. That is their strategy, my queen. It has worked on every other species. It will not work here." Zareth's voice was firm. "These humans, they do not know how to break. They do not know how to give up. They would rather die than surrender." She turned back to Korthax. "I have made a decision. My queen, I came here to observe. I plan to watch the humans fall, then negotiate with the Nexar for this planet's resources. That was the smart choice, the political choice. And now I understand that I was wrong. The Nexar are animals. They consume and destroy. They add nothing to the universe, but these humans," she paused, "these humans are something special, something worth protecting." Korthax raised his eye ridges. "My queen, with respect, the Velthari Council will not approve of direct intervention. The cost would be enormous." "I do not care about the council," Zareth replied. "I am the queen. I will do what I believe is right." The next morning, Zareth requested a meeting with the human leaders. They gathered in a large hall. Presidents and prime ministers and generals from every nation on Earth sat in a circle around her. They looked tired. Many of them had not slept in days. Secretary General Marcus Webb introduced her. "Queen Zareth has requested to address us. We are grateful for any words of wisdom she might offer." Zareth stood in the center of the room. She looked at each human face. She saw fear. She saw exhaustion. But she also saw something else. That same fire she had seen in Captain Chen's eyes. "Yesterday," she began, "I witnessed something that changed me. I watched a human soldier sacrifice his life to save strangers. I watched 12 more soldiers do the same. They knew they would die. They had families and dreams and futures, and they gave all of that away. For others, for people they did not know." The room was silent. "In my 200 years as queen, I have conquered many worlds. I have seen many species. Some were strong, some were clever, some were ancient beyond measure, but none of them had what you have." She took a deep breath. "The Nexar believe they will destroy you. They believe you will run. They believe you will give up, but I have seen the truth. You will never give up. You will fight until the last one of you falls, and even then your ghosts will haunt them." A murmur passed through the crowd. "I came here as an observer. I planned to let you die. I am sorry for that. I was wrong." Zareth bowed her head. "Captain James Chen taught me something yesterday. He taught me that there are things worth dying for. He taught me that true strength is not in armies or weapons. It is in the heart." She raised her head and looked at them with all 4 of her eyes. "I have decided. The Velthari Empire will stand with humanity, not as conquerors, not as traitors, as allies, true allies. We will fight the Nexar together. We will drive them from this world. And when we win, we will create something new, an alliance between our peoples, an eternal bond." The room erupted. Some leaders stood and cheered. Others wept. Marcus Webb approached Zareth with tears running down his face. "Your Majesty," he said, his voice cracking, why would you help us?" Zareth looked at him. "Because Captain Chen gave his life for strangers. The least I can do is risk my empire for friends." She extended her hand, a gesture she had learned from human customs. Marcus took it. They shook hands. In that moment, history changed. The Velthari Empire, one of the most powerful forces in the galaxy, had just committed to protecting Earth. The news spread across the planet within hours. Hope returned to human hearts. But the war was not over. It had barely begun, and both humans and Velthari would learn that the Nexar were not easily defeated. The battles ahead would test both species to their limits. The sacrifices would continue. But they would face it together. That was what Captain Chen had taught them. Together, anything was possible. The Velthari fleet descended from orbit within days. Thousands of warships entered Earth's atmosphere. The humans who had been terrified of aliens just a week ago now cheered as the silver vessels filled the sky. The Velthari were here to help. General Korthax took command of the joint military operations. He was impressed by the human generals. They were not as experienced in galactic warfare, but they were clever. They adapted quickly. They thought in ways that surprised him. "Your species fights differently," he told General Maria Santos, a human commander from Brazil. "Other species try to win with strength alone. You fight with tricks and surprises." General Santos smiled. "We have been fighting each other for thousands of years. We learned that the strongest army does not always win. Sometimes the smartest one does." Korthax liked this woman. She reminded him of Zareth when she was younger, fierce and brilliant. The first joint battle came 2 weeks later. The Nexar had gathered a massive force near the ruins of Tokyo. They planned to push deeper into Asia. They did not know about the Velthari alliance yet. Queen Zareth insisted on being present for the battle. Her advisors warned her that it was too dangerous. She ignored them. "Captain Chen died on that bridge," she said. "I will not hide while others fight for his memory." The battle began at dawn. Velthari ships engaged the Nexar fleet in orbit while human ground forces attacked from multiple directions. It was chaos and fire and screaming metal. The Nexar were confused. They had never faced Velthari weapons before. Their ships exploded under the assault. Their warriors fell to Velthari energy rifles. For the first time in the war, they were losing. But the Nexar were not stupid. They quickly adapted. They called for reinforcements. They focused their attacks on the Velthari command ship. Zareth felt her ship shake as it was hit. Alarms sounded. Screens cracked. One of her guards was killed by falling debris. "My queen, we must retreat," Korthax shouted. "No," Zareth said. "We will not retreat." Chen did not retreat. She walked to the weapons console. She had not fired a weapon herself in 100 years, but she remembered how. "All ships, this is your queen. Focus fire on the Nexar flagship. Everything you have, now." The Velthari fleet obeyed. 1,000 beams of light converged on the massive Nexar mothership. It exploded in a ball of fire that lit up the sky like a second sun. The remaining Nexar forces panicked. Without their flagship, they lost coordination. Human and Velthari troops cut them down. By sunset, the battle was over. It was the first major victory of the war. Zareth walked through the battlefield after it was over. She saw the bodies of Nexar warriors. She saw the bodies of Velthari soldiers. She saw the bodies of humans. A young human soldier was sitting next to a fallen comrade. He was crying. Zareth approached him. "What was his name?" she asked. The soldier looked up at her. His face was covered in dirt and tears. "Tommy," he said. "Tommy Richardson. He was my best friend. We grew up together." Zareth knelt down next to him. It was not something a Velthari queen was supposed to do. Her advisors would have been horrified, but she did not care. "Tommy was brave," she said. "He died fighting for his world, for his people. That is the most honorable death there is." "It doesn't feel honorable," the soldier said. "It just feels empty." Zareth nodded. "I know, I have lost many soldiers over the years, good soldiers, loyal soldiers. Each one left a hole that never healed, but I learned something important." "What?" "They are never truly gone. As long as we remember them, as long as we tell their stories, they live on. In here." She touched her chest where her heart was. The soldier wiped his eyes. "Thank you, Your Majesty." "What is your name?" "Private Michael Chen, ma'am." Zareth's 4 eyes widened. "Chen, are you related to Captain James Chen?" Michael nodded. "He was my uncle, my father's brother." Zareth stared at him for a long moment. The universe was strange. Of all the soldiers on this battlefield, she had found the nephew of the man who had changed everything. "Your uncle was a great man," she said. He changed history, he changed me. I know, Michael said. When I heard what he did, I enlisted the next day. I wanted to make him proud. You have, Zareth said. You are here fighting for your world. That is what he would have wanted. She stood up. Come with me, Private Chen. I want you to meet General Korthax. I think you have a future in this war. Michael looked confused but followed her. He had no idea that this chance meeting would change his life forever. The weeks that followed were filled with battles. The Nexar had been surprised by the Velthari intervention, but they were resilient. They called for reinforcements from their empire. More ships arrived. More warriors poured onto Earth. But the alliance held. Humans and Velthari fought side by side. They learned from each other. Human tactics combined with Velthari technology created devastating new strategies. The Nexar had never faced anything like it. Queen Zareth spent most of her time on Earth now. She had left the governance of her empire to her council of ministers. They complained constantly. They said she was neglecting her duties. She told them that protecting Earth was her duty now. She grew close to the humans. She learned their languages, their customs, their humor. She was particularly fascinated by their concept of family. Velthari society was built on duty and hierarchy, but humans were bound by love. I do not understand, she told Marcus Webb one evening. Why do humans form these small groups, these families? Would it not be more efficient to raise children in state facilities? Marcus laughed. Efficient maybe, but not human. We need love, Queen Zareth. We need to feel that someone cares about us specifically, not as a citizen or a soldier, but as an individual. That seems like a weakness, Zareth said. It is, Marcus agreed, and also our greatest strength. Captain Chen did not die for efficiency. He died because he loved his daughter. He loved the idea that she would have a future. Love makes us willing to sacrifice everything. Zareth thought about this for a long time. She had never loved anyone, not truly. Her parents had been cold and distant. Her advisors were loyal but not affectionate. She had always thought love was an unnecessary emotion. But watching the humans, she began to wonder if she had been wrong. 3 months into the alliance, a new crisis emerged. The Nexar had discovered the location of Earth's command center. They were planning a massive assault. Intelligence suggested they would attack with everything they had. The human and Velthari generals gathered to discuss strategy. It was clear that they could not defend the command center. It was too exposed. They would have to evacuate. But there was a problem. The evacuation would take 12 hours. The Nexar would arrive in 8. We need someone to hold the line, General Santos said. A rear guard. They would have to delay the Nexar for 4 hours. Everyone in the room knew what that meant. 4 hours against the full force of the Nexar. It was a suicide mission. I will lead the rear guard, Korthax said. No, Zareth replied immediately. I need you alive, old friend. With respect, my queen, I am old. I have lived a full life. Let me end it with honor. Before Zareth could respond, another voice spoke up. It was Private Michael Chen. I'll go, he said. Everyone turned to look at him. He was just a private. He had no authority to volunteer for such a mission. My uncle held a bridge against impossible odds, Michael continued. He gave 4 hours for 50,000 people. I can do the same for all of humanity. General Santos shook her head. Private, this is not your decision to make. But it should be, Michael said. I'm not asking for permission. I'm asking for volunteers. The room was silent. Then one by one hands began to rise. Human soldiers, Velthari warriors. Hundreds of them volunteered to join Michael's rear guard. Zareth watched with wonder. They knew they would die. They volunteered anyway. Captain Chen's spirit lives on, she whispered. The evacuation began immediately. Ships took off carrying equipment, personnel, and civilians. The command center was stripped of everything useful. Michael Chen and his volunteers prepared their positions. They had 800 soldiers, 300 humans, 500 Velthari. Against them would come tens of thousands of Nexar. Zareth came to see them before the battle. "Michael," she said, "I want you to know something. Your uncle's sacrifice changed me. It made me believe in humanity. Your sacrifice will change others. Generations from now, they will tell stories about the soldiers who held the line." Michael smiled. "I always wanted to be in a story." Zareth did something she had never done before. She hugged him. A Velthari queen hugging a human private. It would have been scandalous in her court. She did not care. "Give them hell," she said. "I will, Your Majesty." She walked away. She did not look back. She could not. The Nexar arrived exactly on schedule. Their ships darkened the sky. Their warriors swarmed across the ground like a living tide. The battle for the command center began. Michael Chen and his 800 soldiers fought like demons. They used every trick, every tactic, every weapon they had. The Nexar fell by the hundreds, but there were always more. The first hour passed. The defenders lost 100 soldiers. The second hour passed, another 200 dead. The third hour passed, only 300 defenders remained. But they held the line. Michael was wounded twice. He kept fighting. A Velthari warrior named Vex saved his life when a Nexar almost cut off his head. Michael returned the favor 5 minutes later. "You humans are crazy," Vex said. "Thank you," Michael replied. "Coming from a Velthari, that means a lot." They laughed. They were about to die and they were laughing. That was the human way, and now it was the Velthari way too. The fourth hour arrived. The evacuation was complete. The mission was accomplished. But Michael and his remaining soldiers were surrounded. There was no escape. The Nexar closed in from all sides. Michael looked at his comrades, human and Velthari. They had become brothers in battle. They would die as brothers. "It's been an honor," he said. "The honor was ours," Vex replied. They prepared for their final stand. And then the sky exploded. Velthari warships descended through the clouds, weapons blazing. Thousands of energy beams tore into the Nexar forces. Queen Zareth's voice came over the radio. "Did you think I would let you die, Michael Chen? Not today, not ever." Rescue ships landed among the defenders. Soldiers were pulled aboard. Michael was lifted by Velthari medics and carried to safety. He looked up at the sky as the ship rose. The Nexar were being destroyed. The tide had turned. "Why?" he asked weakly. "Why did you come back?" A Velthari medic answered. "Because the Queen ordered it. She said Captain Chen's family has sacrificed enough. She said it was time to start saving them instead." Michael closed his eyes. Tears ran down his face. His uncle had died to save strangers. Now strangers were saving him. That was the power of sacrifice. It rippled outward, changing everything it touched. Captain James Chen had started something that day on the bridge, and now it had grown into something beautiful. The rear guard survived. Against all odds, against all expectations, they survived, and the war continued. But something had shifted. The Nexar began to lose ground. The alliance grew stronger. More species joined, inspired by the story of humans and Velthari fighting together. The tide of the war had finally turned. And at the center of it all was a simple truth. One man's sacrifice had changed the galaxy forever. The war lasted another year. It was brutal and costly. Cities were destroyed. Millions died, but the alliance held. Humans and Velthari fought together, bled together, died together, and slowly they pushed the Nexar back. Michael Chen recovered from his wounds. He was promoted to captain, the same rank his uncle had held. Queen Zareth personally pinned the insignia on his uniform. "Your uncle would be proud," she told him. "I hope so," Michael replied. "I just wanted to make his sacrifice mean something." "You have," Zareth said, "more than you know." The final battle came on a cold winter morning. The Nexar had retreated to their main base on Earth, a massive hive they had built in what used to be Siberia. It was their last stronghold. If the Alliance could destroy it, the invasion would be over. But the hive was heavily defended. Millions of Nexar warriors protected it. Their queen, a monstrous creature called the Brood Mother, commanded them from deep within. If we destroy the Brood Mother, the rest will fall into chaos, General Korthax explained. Nexar warriors cannot function without a queen to guide them. Then we must reach her, Zareth said. But how? Her chamber is at the center of the hive. Getting there would be impossible. Michael Chen stepped forward. Not impossible, just difficult. Everyone turned to look at him. The hive has ventilation shafts, Michael said. They're small, but a squad could fit through. I've studied the plans our scouts brought back. There's a path to the Brood Mother's chamber. Korthax shook his head. Captain, that path goes through the heart of the hive. You would face thousands of warriors. No squad could survive. I know, Michael said. That's why I'm volunteering. Zareth's 4 eyes widened. No, I forbid it. I did not save you at the command center just to let you die now. With respect, Your Majesty, this isn't about me. It's about ending the war. How many more will die if we don't take this chance? How many more families will lose their fathers and mothers and children? He looked at her steadily. My uncle understood that some things are worth dying for. I understand it too. This is my choice. Zareth stared at him for a long moment. She saw the fire in his eyes, the same fire she had seen in Captain James Chen. It was the fire of humanity, the fire that refused to be extinguished. You Chens, she said quietly, you are impossible. It runs in the family. Zareth closed her eyes. When she opened them, they were filled with something she had never shown before, tears. If you must go, then I will go with you. The room erupted in protests. Generals and advisors shouted that it was madness. The Queen could not risk herself in such a mission. It was unthinkable. Silence, Zareth commanded. Her voice cut through the noise like a blade. I have made my decision. For too long, I have watched others sacrifice while I remained safe. Captain James Chen taught me that true leaders do not ask others to do what they will not do themselves. I will not ask Michael Chen to die while I stand here in safety. Korthax stepped forward. Then I will go too, my queen. My old bones can still fight. And me, said General Santos. Humanity should be represented. And me, said Vex, the Velthari warrior who had fought beside Michael at the command center. One by one, volunteers stepped forward. Not many. The mission could only take a small team, but enough. 12 soldiers, the same number that had stood with Captain James Chen on the bridge. 12, Michael said softly, just like my uncle's squad. Perhaps it is fate, Zareth replied, or perhaps it is just chance. Either way, we will make it count. The assault began at dawn. The main Alliance forces attacked the hive from all directions, drawing the Nexar defenders away from the ventilation shafts. The distraction worked. Michael led his team into the dark passages beneath the hive. The shafts were narrow and hot. The air smelled of death and decay. They could hear Nexar warriors moving through the tunnels around them, but the creatures did not notice the small team crawling through the vents. For hours they crawled and climbed and squeezed through impossible spaces. Michael led the way, following the map in his head. Behind him came Zareth, then Korthax, then the others. They lost 2 soldiers in the first ambush. A patrol of Nexar warriors discovered them in a junction. The fight was brief and brutal. The team won, but the cost was high. Keep moving, Michael said. We're close. They pressed on. Another hour passed. Another ambush. Another soldier lost, but they kept going. They would not stop. They could not stop. Finally, they reached the entrance to the Brood Mother's chamber. It was a massive door made of organic material, pulsing like a living heart. Beyond this door is the Queen, Korthax said. She will not be alone. She will have her elite guards. the strongest Nexar warriors. How many? Michael asked. Intelligence suggests at least 100. Michael looked at his team. 9 soldiers remained, including himself. 9 against 100 elite warriors and their queen. Those are terrible odds, General Santos said. Michael smiled. My uncle faced worse. He pressed his hand against the door. It opened, and they charged in. The brood mother was enormous. She filled half the chamber with her bloated body. Her many eyes turned toward the intruders, and she screamed. It was a sound that shook the walls and pierced the mind. Her guards attacked. The battle was chaos. Energy blasts and claw strikes and screaming and blood. The 9 soldiers fought like they had never fought before. Zareth moved with a grace that belied her age. She had not fought in a century, but her body remembered. She killed a dozen Nexar before one of them finally wounded her. Korthax went down next. A guard tackled him and 3 more piled on. He disappeared under a mass of claws. General Santos was cut down defending a wounded Velthari. Vex died shielding Michael from a killing blow. One by one they fell, until only Michael remained. He stood before the brood mother, surrounded by the bodies of his friends. His weapons were empty, his body was broken, but he was still standing. The brood mother looked at him with her many eyes. Little human, she said, her voice was like grinding metal. You cannot win, you are alone, you are weak. Why do you not beg for mercy? Michael laughed. It hurt to laugh, everything hurt, but he laughed anyway. You don't understand, do you? He said. I'm not alone, I've never been alone. He reached into his vest and pulled out a small device, a detonator. When my uncle died, he took hundreds of your kind with him. He destroyed a bridge and stopped your advance. He became a legend. The brood mother's eyes widened. She recognized the device. I'm carrying enough explosives to level this chamber. I can't beat you in a fight. But I don't have to. All I have to do is press this button. You will die too, the brood mother hissed. I know, Michael said, but you'll die with me. And when you die, your whole army falls apart. Earth will be saved. My friend's sacrifice will mean something. My uncle's sacrifice will mean something. He put his finger on the button. Michael, wait. The voice came from behind him. He turned. Queen Zareth was still alive. She was crawling toward him, leaving a trail of blood. Her silver robes were torn and stained. Your Majesty, Michael said, you should be dead. Velthari are harder to kill than you think. She reached him and grabbed his arm. Michael, listen to me. You don't have to do this alone. Someone has to press the button. Yes, Zareth said, but it doesn't have to be you. She took the detonator from his hand. My queen, no. I came here to die if necessary, Zareth said. I meant it. I am old, Michael. I have ruled for 200 years. I have seen everything I wanted to see. But you are young. You have your whole life ahead of you. You can have a family, children. You can honor your uncle's memory by living, not just by dying. But your empire will survive without me. They will choose a new ruler. The alliance will continue. Humans and Velthari together. That is my legacy. That is enough. She pushed him toward the door. Go, get out. Tell them what happened here. Tell them that Queen Zareth of the Velthari Empire stood with humanity until the end. I can't leave you. You must. She smiled at him with her 4 eyes. Tell your cousin Sarah that her father's sacrifice started something beautiful. Tell her that Captain James Chen saved the galaxy. She turned to face the brood mother. The massive creature was beginning to move, trying to escape. Where do you think you're going? Zareth said. I'm not done with you yet. Michael ran. He did not want to. Every part of him screamed to stay, to fight, to die alongside his queen. But he knew she was right. Someone had to survive. Someone had to tell the story. He made it to the door just as Zareth pressed the button. The explosion was blinding. The heat scorched his back as he dove into the ventilation shaft. The entire hive shook. Cracks spread through the walls. The structure was collapsing. Michael crawled. He crawled through fire and smoke and falling debris. He crawled until his hands were raw and his lungs burned. He crawled until he saw daylight. He emerged onto the frozen Siberian plain just as the hive collapsed behind him. A massive cloud of dust and smoke rose into the sky. The brood mother was dead. Queen Zareth was dead. But the war was over. Michael fell to his knees. Around him, Nexar warriors were going mad. Without their queen to guide them, they were lost. They attacked each other, ran in circles, collapsed. The invasion was breaking apart. A rescue ship found him an hour later. They pulled him aboard and wrapped him in blankets. A medic treated his wounds. "Captain Chen," the medic said, "what happened in there?" Michael looked at the ruins of the hive. He thought of his uncle. He thought of Zareth. He thought of everyone who had given their lives. "Sacrifices were made," he said, "and they meant something." The news spread across the galaxy within days. Queen Zareth of the Velthari Empire was dead. She had died in battle, fighting alongside humans against the Nexar. She had given her life to end the war. The Velthari Empire mourned. They had never lost a ruler in combat. They did not know how to feel. Some were angry, some were sad, some were proud. But when the full story became known, something changed. Zareth had not died as a conqueror. She had died as an ally. She had died for another species. She had died for humans. The Velthari Council met to choose a new ruler. It was expected to be a contentious process. Many factions had candidates. Many alliances would be tested. But something unexpected happened. The leading candidate, a powerful lord named Thuron, stood before the council and made a speech. "Queen Zareth changed everything," he said. "She showed us that there is more to existence than conquest. She showed us that other species can be our equals, our friends, our family. I do not wish to be king if it means returning to our old ways. I propose something different. I propose that we continue what Zareth started. I propose that we formalize our alliance with humanity, not as a treaty, not as a trade agreement, as a bond, an eternal bond." The council debated for 3 days. In the end, they agreed. The Velthari Empire and the nations of Earth would become partners, not rulers and subjects, partners. The signing ceremony was held on the rebuilt bridge in Tokyo, the same bridge where Captain James Chen had given his life. It had been reconstructed as a monument to sacrifice and courage. Michael Chen represented humanity. He had become a symbol of the alliance, the living legacy of 2 families of heroes. Beside him stood Sarah Chen, his cousin, Captain James Chen's daughter. She was grown now, a young woman with her father's eyes. Lord Thuron represented the Velthari. He had been chosen as the new leader of the empire. He was not a king. The Velthari had decided they did not want kings anymore. They wanted something new. Millions watched the ceremony. Humans and Velthari gathered together across both worlds. The moment had finally come. Thuron spoke first. 2 years ago, the Nexar invaded Earth. They thought they would conquer a weak species. They were wrong. Humanity showed us what courage truly means. Captain James Chen showed us what sacrifice truly means. And Queen Zareth showed us what love truly means. He paused. His eyes swept the crowd. Today, we honor all of them. We create something that has never existed before. An alliance between species, not based on power or fear or trade, based on respect, based on friendship, based on the simple truth that we are stronger together than apart. Michael stepped forward. "My uncle died on this bridge. He gave his life for people he never knew. Queen Zareth died in the hive. She gave her life for a species she had only just met. They understood something that took the rest of us longer to learn. We are all connected. Human and Velthari, our fates are bound together." Sarah Chen stepped forward next. She held a piece of paper in her hands. It was old and worn. "My father wrote this letter the night before he died," she said. "I have never shared it publicly, but today feels right." She began to read. My dear Sarah, if you're reading this, then I'm gone. I'm sorry I couldn't be there to see you grow up. I'm sorry I'll miss your graduation and your wedding and all the moments a father should witness. But I want you to know that I don't regret what I did. There were 50,000 people behind me, families like ours, children like you. I couldn't let them die. I couldn't live with myself if I did, so I made a choice. The only choice I could make. I hope you understand someday. I hope you know that I love you more than anything in the universe. Be brave, little girl. Be kind. And remember that one person can change the world. All it takes is the courage to try. Love forever, Dad. Sarah wiped her eyes. My father was right. One person can change the world. He proved it. Queen Zareth proved it. Michael proved it. And now all of us together, we can change the galaxy. The documents were signed. The alliance was official. Fireworks filled the sky. Cheers erupted from the crowd. Humans and Velthari embraced each other, celebrated together, cried together. In the years that followed, the alliance grew stronger. Technology was shared. Culture was exchanged. Humans traveled to Velthari worlds. Velthari lived on Earth. Mixed families emerged, not biologically, but through adoption and friendship. The Nexar threat had ended, but other challenges arose. New species were encountered. Some were friendly, some were hostile, but the alliance stood strong. When one was threatened, the other responded. They had learned from Captain Chen and Queen Zareth. They never forgot. Michael Chen eventually retired from the military. He married a Velthari woman named Lyra, the first human Velthari marriage in history. They adopted 2 children, one human and one Velthari. They raised them together on a small farm outside Tokyo. Sarah Chen became an ambassador. She spent her life building bridges between species, just as her father had defended them. She told his story wherever she went, the story of the bridge, the story of sacrifice, the story of hope. Lord Thuron ruled the Velthari for 50 years. He never took the title of king. He said he did not deserve it. Only Queen Zareth deserved that honor. When he died, he was buried in a monument beside her tomb. Their statues stood together, looking toward the stars. And on the bridge in Tokyo, a plaque was installed. It bore 2 images. One was Captain James Chen in his military uniform, young and brave and full of life. The other was Queen Zareth in her silver robes, her 4 eyes shining with wisdom and courage. Below the images were simple words. They gave everything for strangers. They became family. From their sacrifice, an alliance was born. From their courage, a future was made. Remember them, honor them, be like them. Visitors came to the bridge from across the galaxy. They read the words. They looked at the images. They understood. Sacrifice was not about death. It was about love. It was about choosing others over self. It was about believing that something greater existed beyond individual existence. Captain James Chen had believed that. He had died for it. Queen Zareth had learned it. She had died for it too. And in their deaths, they had given the galaxy something precious: hope, unity, a future worth fighting for. The story of humanity and the Velthari became legend. It was told to children across 100 worlds. It was taught in schools and academies and temples. It became the founding myth of a new age. And at the center of the story always were 2 names: a human soldier who held a bridge, and an alien queen who witnessed his sacrifice and changed her heart. They never met in life, but in death they were bound together forever. 2 heroes, 2 species, 1 destiny. The alliance they created lasted 1,000 years and beyond. It expanded to include a dozen species. It brought peace to a galaxy that had known only war. It proved that the universe was better when its peoples worked together. All because one man refused to run. All because one queen refused to look away. Their sacrifice echoed through eternity, rippling outward like waves in a cosmic ocean. Every act of courage, every moment of kindness, every choice to put others first, all of it traced back to them. Captain James Chin, Queen Zareth, forever remembered, forever honored, forever together. The humans had a phrase for moments like these. They called it the human spirit. But the Velthari had learned that it was not just human. It was universal. It existed in every species, in every heart, in every soul that chose love over fear. And on quiet nights when the stars shone bright over the bridge in Tokyo, some people claimed they could feel it. A presence, a warmth, the spirits of those who had given everything, watching over the world they had saved. They were still standing guard. They always would be. Because some things were eternal. And love, the greatest sacrifice, was the most eternal of all.